It was a world built on justice, or so they claimed. But justice in those days came cheap. In some towns, it came at the end of a rope. And in others, it never came at all. The year was 1874, in the mining camp of Alder Gulch, Montana. A sheriff by the name of Henry Plummer wore the badge by day, and led a gang of road agents by night. Stagecoaches vanished. Men disappeared. And for months, no one suspected that the law itself was the outlaw. When word spread, vigilantes took over, masking themselves beneath kerchiefs and calling it justice. Plummer and his men were hanged from a cottonwood tree. Without trial, without mercy, without a single word spoken for the defense. They called it cleansing the frontier. But it was also the beginning of something else, the idea that justice could be taken, twisted, or rewritten at will. The West was full of such stories. Stories that don't fit neatly into the cowboy code. Like the massacre at Rock Creek Station in Nebraska, 1861, a bloody feud turned into legend when a man named Wild Bill Hickok shot 5 men in a gunfight that newspapers called heroic. But the truth? 3 of those men were unarmed. Witnesses claimed they were shot as they ran. The town buried the bodies quietly, and the legend of Hickok grew like wildfire. History wrote him as a hero. But the ghosts of Rock Creek might disagree. Then there was Ellen Watson, better known as Cattle Kate. They said she was a horse thief, a rustler, a woman too wild for Wyoming. In 1889, a group of cattlemen dragged her from her cabin and hanged her. No judge. No jury. But when the smoke cleared, the truth began to surface. Ellen wasn't stealing cattle. She was homesteading, legally. She stood in the way of powerful men who wanted her land. And so they branded her an outlaw. To make murder look like justice. Her name was smeared, her story buried, and the men who killed her rode away untouched. That's the kind of justice the frontier was built on. The frontier's myth was built on the backs of the forgotten, Chinese miners lynched along the Snake River. Black cowboys run out of towns they helped build. Indigenous families starved on land stolen beneath their feet. But their stories were erased because they didn't fit the image. The West wanted heroes with white hats, not the raw truth of what justice really looked like when the rules were written by the few. And then there were the courts themselves, sometimes more corrupt than the criminals they condemned. In Texas, Judge Roy Bean, the law west of the Pecos, once fined a dead man for carrying a concealed weapon. He took the money off the corpse and called it done. In New Mexico, the Lincoln County War turned justice into business. Lawyers, ranchers, and hired guns, Billy the Kid among them, fought not for truth, but for control. When the smoke cleared, the powerful rewrote the story to make their side righteous. The law of the frontier wasn't written in ink. It was written in blood and dust. And yet, among all this chaos, a strange morality grew. A belief that even when the law failed, justice, somehow, would prevail. But what they called justice was often just vengeance in a different hat. There were those who tried to make it right, quiet men like Tom Tobin, who brought down killers without fanfare. Sheriffs like Charlie Bassett, who refused to take bribes. Women like Mary Fields, Stagecoach Mary, who delivered mail through snow and gunfire, proving courage had no gender. But their stories were the exception. The rest were erased, rewritten, or forgotten to keep the legend clean. The West was not just a place of outlaws and lawmen. It was a place of survival, where every man and woman carved justice from the wilderness with bare hands and brittle hope. And for every name carved into history, there were 10 more that the wind took away. People whose deaths were never recorded, whose killers were never tried, whose stories were burned, intentionally, because they showed that the frontier dream was built on contradiction. So when you walk through the ghost towns, when you see those leaning gravestones beneath the open sky, remember this: justice wasn't a code in the West. It was a question, one that still echoes in the silence of abandoned streets and broken saloons. The frontier wasn't wild because it was untamed. It was wild because no one agreed on what justice really meant. And the stories they tried to erase? Those are the ones that tell us who we truly were, and how easily we forget.